Central Americans choose to come to the United States. Central Americans have lots of options to stay or go. Central Americans can choose any country to go to seek asylum. Narratives of immigration often make it seem like the choice to immigrate is an individual decision or an individual decision that belongs to a family. What that kind of narrative misses is the laws and policies that constrain the choices of immigrants like Central American refugees that come to the United States. It misses how historical policies, economic and political conflicts, and current day immigration policies really shape how immigration to the U.S. and Central American families' immigrations to the U.S. are shaped.
This week, you are reading Cecilia Menjivar and Abrego's piece called Legal Violence. These are two Central American women of color sociologists that are publishing in the top journal of sociology, American Journal of Sociology. They're at UCLA, and they are representing a particular perspective that many sociologists won't have because they don't belong to a Central American community or don't understand more intimately the experience. Abrego and Menjivar are able to situate their sociological analysis with the fact that there has been historic political U.S. Military intervention in Central America. They can situate their scholarship on Central American immigration to the U.S. in the refugee crisis, the caravans that come to the United States from Central America, and they basically are trying to wrap the idea of Central American experiences here in the U.S. with all of that particular context in that community. It's important to state that because oftentimes you have a particular perspective that other people won't have. As Menjivar and Abrego offer us, it's a very unique opportunity to share your own sociological analysis about a community if you come from that community. There's so many things that you can offer the world, sociology, by writing from where you are sitting and what kind of experience you've had in your life. So this article isn't just important because of who wrote it and what they write about. It's also because this week you are writing your introduction and thesis to your final papers. And I want to give you this article as an example of one way you could see how an introduction is written effectively. In their article, the first paragraph is an ethnographic hook around Central American immigration. The second paragraph, they go towards their research aims. On page 1381, they write, "We analyze how Central American immigrants in tenuous legal statuses experience current immigration laws in qualitatively different and more negative ways than in recent past." The next sentence after reads, quote, "We argue that this change is rooted in the effects of an increasingly fragmented and arbitrary field of immigration law, gradually intertwined with criminal law, and we label the current practices legal violence." In these two sentences and the paragraph above, they have hooked us into the story they want to tell. They're telling us what exactly they want to do in this paper and what they were seeking to argue as we continue to see what their research is about. Legal violence, in the latter pages, they explain as the effects of law that obstructs and derails immigrants' paths to incorporation into the United States, into American mainstream. They talk about the inability of Central American immigrants or immigrants more generally that have really precarious immigration statuses their inability to be part of the American society, not just because of interpersonal microaggressions or physical violence, but actually their experiences of the law in the implementation of law, how they are discursively analyzed, or how their lives are described in the media. Um, that those kinds of practices that are circulated on immigrants really affect how Central Americans are able to be comfortable or be part of the American society. Later in the article, they examine how different social institutions are affected by legal violence. They look at media, interactions with public officials, how people go to school or work, how families are affected by how laws are interpreted, and how laws are, carried out in this country. You could imagine even more today as anti-immigrant sentiment keeps increasing what these kinds of legal violences mean today. In the forum this week, I'd like for you to reflect on if Menjivar and Abrego actually meet their research aims and provide the right evidence towards their argument. Um, did they meet their aim? Was their argument supported by the evidence that they bring to the paper? This is the reflection I'd like for you to see, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Until next time.